All right, so welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking into something that honestly probably affects you every day, even if you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And that is all the stuff that goes into running a residential society,
Oh, yeah. We're talking managing a community,
keeping it all working.
all the moving parts. And we've got this really interesting document here. It's called A Duty Charter for a Society Manager. And it's basically like a super detailed guide to all the responsibilities that go into, well, yeah, managing a society. It's fascinating. And what's really cool is that we've got sections in English and Marathi and even some parts in Hindi, so we get to see all these different perspectives.
That's awesome. So for our listeners today, our goal is to sort of break this whole thing down. We want to make sure you understand what this job really entails, like the crucial responsibilities and the challenges. We're going to highlight all the things you might not even think about when it comes to keeping your society running smoothly. And hopefully we'll even uncover some of those like aha moments along the way, things that make you realize, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought.
Right. Like you see the results, but you don't think about all the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Exactly. So why don't we start with the daily grind, the day-to-day stuff that a society manager has to deal with. The charter actually breaks down their day into different areas, starting with administration and office management.
Mhm.
And it sounds kind of basic, but it's actually a lot more involved than you might expect.
Wow. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you stop and think about it, the amount of record keeping is huge. It's not just about having a list of residents' names and contact info. It's about managing agreements with all the different service providers. Think about all the services a society uses, like security, cleaning, maintenance. There are a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like a small city.
Yeah.
And then there are the bylaws, which
Yeah.
are like the rule book for how the entire community functions.
Exactly. Those bylaws are essential. And the society manager is the one who's responsible for keeping all of this organized, making sure all this information is accessible and up to date. It's not just filing cabinets, it's like being a librarian for the entire community.
A very important librarian. And it's not just about keeping those documents safe. It's about communication, right? The constant flow of information coming in and going out.
Yeah. The charter talks about the need to check and respond to emails, letters, official communications, and they're coming from everywhere. Local authorities, those service providers, residents. It's like a never-ending stream of information that needs to be sorted, acted upon, and, well, dealt with.
And on top of all that, they have to be really good at dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
The resident relations part of the job is huge.
Huge. Dealing with complaints and questions, making sure those issues are addressed and actually resolved, not just listened to, and keeping a logbook to track all of that, so nothing falls through the cracks.
Which is a really good system to have in place.
Yeah, accountability. It's not just about being friendly and approachable. It's about actively working to solve problems and make sure residents are happy.
For sure. And then, of course, there's the staff supervision aspect.
Yeah.
The society manager isn't just behind a desk. They're out and about overseeing a whole team of people.
Right. You've got the security guards, the cleaning staff, the maintenance crew, the gardeners, the electricians, even people for waste management. It's like managing a whole mini company, making sure everyone is doing their job properly and that the community is running smoothly.
It's almost like being the mayor,
Yeah.
right? Or like the head of a small village. And the charter also mentions something that's not always pleasant, but super important: enforcing the rules and regulations.
Yeah, somebody's got to be the bad guy sometimes. But it's essential for maintaining order and making sure everyone is respecting the community and each other.
Absolutely. And it's not just about telling people off. It's about making sure those rules are being followed, that the bylaws are being upheld, and that everyone is on the same page. And then there are the little things that, honestly, I never even thought about. Like the charter specifically says they have to monitor the intercom system and all the other communication channels in the society.
That's so interesting.
It's like they're the central nervous system for the entire community.
They really are. And something else that's often overlooked is the management of utilities. Making sure bills are paid on time, tracking electricity consumption, ensuring the backup power supply is working, all that.
It's like the invisible infrastructure that we take for granted until it doesn't work.
Exactly. It's the stuff that makes your life comfortable and, well, livable.
So important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to security and safety, because the daily checks outlined in the charter are incredibly thorough. I mean, it's not just a quick walk around the property. There are specific times listed for when the society manager has to verify the security personnel are at their posts.
Right, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. It shows how seriously security is taken.
And that level of accountability is really reassuring.
Absolutely. And not just that, they have to check the security logbooks, review CCTV footage, and make sure the entry registers for visitors, delivery people, and even domestic help are all up to date.
It's constant vigilance, 204/7.
It's about creating that sense of security and knowing that someone is always watching out for the community.
And I like that they mentioned both the physical and electronic security measures. So it's not just about having strong gates and fences, but also making sure the alarm systems and cameras are working properly. It's a layered approach.
Yeah, so you've got those physical barriers, but also that constant surveillance.
And then, God forbid, if something does happen, the society manager is the one who has to handle it. They're responsible for addressing security incidents and even coordinating with the police if necessary.
That's a big responsibility, dealing with those emergencies and making those tough decisions.
And it requires a lot of quick thinking and a cool head.
Mm.
I was also really impressed by how proactive they have to be. The charter talks about regularly reviewing and updating those visitor and vendor entry protocols, making sure those rules stay relevant.
Because things change and security measures have to adapt to stay effective.
And even something as seemingly simple as making sure the water pumps are working on schedule, that's actually directly related to safety, because you need a reliable water supply for things like fire safety.
Right. Having enough water available in case of an emergency is critical. And speaking of those daily routines, let's move on to housekeeping and maintenance, because this is another huge part of the job.
This is what residents see every day.
Exactly. This is where it becomes very visible. And the first thing listed is, again, checking the security personnel attendance. It's a reminder of how important security is.
It's like their number one priority every single day. And then, of course, there's the supervision of the cleaning staff, making sure all the common areas, the parking lots, the stairways, the gardens, they're all kept clean and tidy.
It's all about maintaining a pleasant living environment for everyone in the society.
And waste management is also a big deal. They have to make sure the garbage is collected on time, that it's segregated properly, and that it's disposed of according to the regulations. It's really important for public health and environmental reasons.
It's not just about keeping things looking neat, it's about making sure the community is healthy and sustainable.
Absolutely. And then there are those urgent repairs that need to be addressed right away. Plumbing problems, electrical issues, problems with the elevators, water pumps, generators. These can't wait.
These are the things that can really disrupt your daily life. So the society manager has to be really on top of identifying these problems and getting them reported and fixed ASAP.
It's like being a firefighter, always ready to put out those little fires. And it's not just about fixing things when they break, it's about preventative maintenance too.
Right. Catching those potential problems before they become major issues, that saves everyone a lot of headaches and money in the long run.
And they have to monitor the water tank levels daily, making sure there's enough water for everyone and arranging for tanker water delivery if needed. That's something we all take for granted until we turn on the tap and nothing comes out.
Exactly. Water is essential, and the society manager is responsible for making sure it's always available. And of course, everything needs to be documented. They have to keep records of maintenance schedules, vendor reports, all that stuff.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Organization is key. Oh, and speaking of details, they even have to make sure those solar hot water panels are cleaned every month. That's awesome.
Wow, that's a lot to keep track of. And we're just talking about the daily stuff. Now let's move on to the weekly duties, which are equally demanding.
For sure. So weekly, we're still looking at maintenance and repairs, but it's a much broader scope. It's less about those immediate fixes and more about those regular inspections of the major infrastructure.
So things like checking the water tanks, the pumps, the elevators, firefighting equipment, the DG sets, the electrical panels. It's like a deep dive into the systems that keep everything running.
Yeah, a more in-depth look at the heart of this society. And then there's the follow-up on any pending maintenance requests, making sure those contractors and vendors are actually getting things done and residents aren't left waiting.
It's like project management on a community level. And they also have to check all the safety equipment every week. Fire extinguishers, emergency alarms, making sure everything is in working order.
That's so crucial because you never know when those things might be needed. And it's not just about the insides of the buildings. They also have to monitor the condition of the roads, the walkways, all the external structures.
Making sure the whole property is well maintained.
Mm.
And they have to keep those logs for equipment servicing and AMCs so they know when things need to be checked or replaced. It's all about planning ahead.
Prevention is always better than cure, right? And then there's the weekly staff management side of things, which is another whole world.
Oh, yeah. So regular team meetings with all the staff, making sure everyone is on the same page, ensuring there are proper work schedules and duty rosters, addressing any grievances staff members might have.
It's about creating a positive and productive work environment.
Absolutely. And providing training and briefings on safety procedures, how to interact with residents, what to do in emergencies. All that stuff is so important.
Yeah, ongoing education for the whole team. And then there's the management of external vendors, making sure they're doing their jobs properly and providing feedback for improvement.
Because the quality of those services directly impacts the residents. Okay, let's move on to resident services and communication because this is all about how the society manager interacts with the people who actually live there.
This is where those people skills really come into play. So they're responsible for updating the notice boards and any digital communication channels with all the latest society news, rules, upcoming events,
It's like being the town crier, spreading the word.
but in a more modern way.
Yeah.
And they also have to address any concerns residents have raised, making sure those issues are resolved. This can be anything from noise complaints to maintenance requests.
They're like the problem solvers, always working to find solutions for the community. And they have to coordinate with the managing committee, getting their approvals for various things like expenses, projects, policy updates. It's a lot of back and forth.
It's that bridge between the residents and the decision makers.
And keeping those resident records up to date is really important too. Noting any new move-ins, move-outs, making sure all the contact information is correct.
This is crucial for communication and security purposes. And then, of course, there are those periodic meetings with residents to discuss feedback, raise issues, and find solutions together.
It's all about fostering that sense of community and making sure everyone feels heard.
Exactly. A happy community is a well-managed community. And speaking of managing, let's not forget about the weekly financial tasks, because this is a crucial part of the job.
This is where the numbers come in.
Right, so they have to check all the invoices from vendors, process payments, make sure everything is paid accurately and on time.
It's like being the accountant for the entire community. And they have to prepare those weekly financial reports, share them with the treasurer and the managing committee.
Transparency is key when it comes to finances.
And then there's the fun part, following up with anyone who hasn't paid their dues.
Yeah, sending those gentle reminders or, if necessary, those not-so-gentle notices.
Making sure everyone's contributing their fair share. And reconciling the bank statements with the society's records every week, making sure all the numbers match up.
Accuracy is so important so there are no surprises. And keeping detailed records of any major financial transactions with all the approvals documented properly, that's all about accountability.
So much to do every week. And we haven't even talked about the monthly duties yet.
Oh yeah, the monthly tasks. This is where things get even more strategic with a big focus on the long-term health of this society.
And financial management is really front and center here.
Absolutely. So the first thing is preparing that comprehensive monthly financial report, which gives the managing committee a really detailed picture of the society's financial situation.
That's a huge responsibility, making sure those reports are accurate and informative.
And then there's bill payment management, making sure all those recurring bills for electricity, water, property taxes, vendor services, all of that is paid on time every month.
No one likes late fees. And the society manager is also involved in budget creation, fund allocation, financial planning for future projects. It's like looking ahead and making sure the community has the resources it needs.
It's that long-term vision that's so important for sustainability. And conducting internal audits of the society's finances every month, that's a big deal.
Making sure everything is above board and transparent.
Absolutely. And constantly looking for ways to save money, suggesting cost-saving measures, optimizing resource allocation.
Every penny counts.
It really does. And then there's the whole world of compliance and documentation, which is all about making sure the society is operating within the legal framework.
This is the stuff that keeps you out of trouble.
Exactly. So making sure things like GST filings, TDS, society registration renewals, all the tax filings, they're all done correctly and on time.
That's a lot of paperwork.
It is, but it's essential to avoid legal issues and keeping all the important society registers up to date. The member lists, vendor contracts, maintenance records.
Making sure all that information is accurate and accessible when needed.
And those AMCs, those annual maintenance contracts for the crucial equipment like elevators, generators, water pumps, CCTV systems, making sure those are renewed on time.
That's so important.
It's about keeping everything running smoothly and avoiding any unexpected breakdowns, and coordinating preparations for internal audits, making sure all the documentation is in order.
Keeping everything organized for when those auditors come knocking.
Exactly. And last but not least, making sure all the necessary licenses and permits are updated.
It's a never-ending list. Okay, so we've covered the finances and the legal stuff, but there's still more. Let's talk about the monthly meetings and coordination responsibilities.
Okay, so this is where the society manager has to wear their facilitator hat.
Right. They have to organize and attend those monthly managing committee meetings, preparing reports, updates, all that,
It's a lot of behind-the-scenes work to make sure those meetings run smoothly.
and taking detailed minutes of those meetings, distributing them to everyone, making sure everyone is in the loop about what was discussed and decided.
Transparency and communication are key for a healthy community.
And then there are the community events and those general body meetings if they happen on a monthly basis.
This is where the fun stuff happens. Planning those events, bringing the community together.
It's like being a party planner.
In a way, yeah. And then, of course, there are the occasional legal matters that might pop up.
Oh, right. So the society manager has to coordinate with legal advisors and make sure those issues are addressed properly.
It's all about protecting the interests of the community.
Wow, that was a lot to cover.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that being a society manager is way more than just a 9-to-5 job, right? It's like running a small business.
It really is. And I think we've only just scratched the surface here.
Totally. But for our listeners, hopefully this is giving you a better understanding of all the hard work and dedication that goes into keeping a society running smoothly. You're probably looking at your own building in a whole new light now.
I know I am. It makes you appreciate all the little things.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder. Think about all those behind-the-scenes efforts, the coordination, the constant problem-solving that happens every day to make your life comfortable and convenient. What's one aspect of this job that you think people often take for granted? And why is it so crucial to the overall well-being of the community? Take a look around your own society and see if you can spot all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes. You might be surprised by what you notice.
And you might even start to notice things you never saw before.
It's all about appreciating the unsung heroes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time for more fascinating insights.